Today, I'm going to show you how to build an advertising campaign that consistently brings you a 5x return on your investment. And if you're wondering how I can say this so confidently, well, I'm actively using it for myself and I'm actively helping over 20 coaches to use it. And it has been responsible for generating them over £500,000 in revenue. So buckle in and take notes as I go through the 7 core elements that you need to run an extremely profitable ad campaign. So the first element that we need to look at, no matter what type of advertising campaign we are trying to run, is your client avatar. Now, I know some of you are going to roll your eyes in this and think, for God's sake, another one telling me about client avatar. But look, if you're not willing to properly identify, define, and get the elements in place around your client avatar, you might as well click off this video because it's going to be a waste of money for you to run ads. As simple as that. Now, the key with your client avatar is, let's make a note of this here, is you need to define one client avatar that you serve, right? Define one. It's as simple as that. You can't physically advertise to loads of people at once in one campaign. And this is a basic rookie area that a lot of people do make. Now, to give you an example of this, I want you to think of some of the biggest companies in the world, right? Think of the likes of Coca-Cola, think of Microsoft, think of Apple. Now, these companies in their advertising campaigns, they are targeting to the masses. They will still have some sort of client avatar, but they have a broader range, right? They probably have a few different client avatars within their campaigns that they're going after. Now, the reason that they're the only companies that they're able to do that is because they have hundreds of millions of pounds that they have at their disposal to invest into advertising. Now, if you're watching this video, with all due respect, you probably don't have that budget. So you can't advertise to the masses in that way. It's as simple as that these companies can have this reach and try and speak to as many people as possible because they have these massive budgets. But when you have small advertising budgets, 5, 10, 15 pounds a day, there is no room for you to spread your message that far and that thin. And again, genuine advice off of someone who's spent close to £100,000 on ads between my own money and my client's money is very simply, if you're not going to be able to or willing to knuckle down on one client avatar and define that niche, don't run ads. I'm being serious because it would genuinely be a waste of money. Now, to back this up, an amazing quote I read in a book which will really help you is that in an over-communicated society, the only way to stand out is to oversimplify your message. And this is such a powerful lesson and learning and quote that everyone who's marketing themselves online or trying to advertise themselves online should really take into account. The thing is, right, is that there is just so much noise out there, and we're going to get into competitor analysis shortly, but there is just so much noise out there. There are so many people going after your target avatar. There is no reason for your avatar to stop and to listen and to look at what you're doing, apart from you being able to really just cut out the noise and make it easy for them to digest and understand. So it's really, really important that you define one client avatar. And the framework that I've developed in terms of making sure that you have a good client avatar defined is very simple. So what I always say is you need to have one type of person that you're targeting. You need to be promising that you're solving one transformation, and you need to be promising that you're going to solve one problem. One overarching transformation, one overarching problem. Now, again, some people get funny about that, but they're like, well, I solve multiple different problems. I help people get multiple different transformations. That is completely fine. What you need to do here is define the overarching one. So, for example, I help coaches to run ads. I help coaches to generate leads. I help coaches to get more sales. I help coaches to build a VSL. I help coaches with all of these little problems, right? But the overarching problem that I'm helping with is getting clients. And this is the way you need to define your messaging. And the overarching transformation that I'm getting coaches is helping them to consistently grow. Okay, so this is the same thing that you need to apply to yourself. So one client avatar, helping them solve one overarching problem and helping them achieve one overarching transformation. And again, this is only for your marketing and your advertising. It doesn't mean you're changing your whole business, but this is just the framework of how to define a client avatar to ensure that the adverts that you put out are successful. Now, as a minimum, there's a few things that you need to understand about your client avatar to have a successful ad campaign. Okay, so first of all, you need to understand at a basic level their pains. Now, excuse my dodgy writing, but this is the first thing you need to understand. If you can't list out and identify the key pain points that your client avatar is facing, then you can't run ads. Now, the key with the pain points that you list is list the pain points in a way that your client avatar describes them. Okay, so here's the first thing. If you've never worked with a client before, realistically, you shouldn't be running ads because you're going to be guessing around the wording, the messaging, the pains that the client avatar might have. And that then puts you in at a risk that what you're running isn't going to be as successful as you want. Okay, so make sure you've worked with somebody first. And then when you're listing out pain points, use their words. Okay, your clients that you're working with now are your source of inspiration and your source of clarity in terms of what their pain points are. So use their exact words. The second thing you need to understand, as well as their pains, very simply, are their goals. Same thing, okay? Use their own language. So what I mean by that is use the language of the client avatar when they came to you. This is also a really important key concept when you're advertising, writing anything, is that the pains that you list and the goals that you list in any type of marketing or ads need to be the exact same language that the client avatar uses when they originally come to you. Not after they've had 10 sessions with you and they've learnt your language, they've learnt the lingo, they've got most of their problems solved. No, you need to use the language that they use when they initially come to you. The other things I'd recommend you'd write down and you have familiar for yourself for any advertising that you do is things that your client avatar has tried before. So for example, coaches would have probably tried organic content. They would have tried to use funnels. They would have maybe tried cold outreach. They would have tried to rely on referrals. All of these things. You need to understand what these things are to strengthen your advertising campaigns, which we'll explain more shortly. And lastly, list down things they hate. So again, this might be similar to things they've tried, but it's important to do this so again we can start to encompass this in our marketing. And the reason we do that is because this is a concept called throwing rocks at your enemies. So if in your marketing you speak out against things that your client avatar dislikes, it makes them 10 times more likely to pay attention, to be interested in what you have to say, and to see you as different, which is obviously the key here. So again, coaches, for example, will hate using funnels. Coaches will hate being hard sold to for themselves to get clients. They'll hate people making all these crazy promises. So these are things that I use in my marketing campaigns and advertising campaigns to help me to stand out. So this is essentially what you need around your client avatar to really make sure you've got it knuckled down. Now, the second element of a successful ad campaign that can get you a 5x ROAS is doing a competitor analysis. Now, allow me to explain this. Here's the thing, right? The online advertising space is just absolutely bombarded with noise. If you go on your phone right now and you scroll on Instagram, on Facebook for literally the space of 30 seconds, you'll get a bunch of ads. Now, what that means for you is that there is a bunch of people advertising to your client avatar. Now, what we need to do is analyze this competition, analyze the adverts that are going to our avatars so that we can be different. Because here's the problem, right? There's an important concept for you to understand called habituation. So what that means is when you're normalized with something, when you keep seeing the same things over and over again, your brain doesn't consciously process it, and it's not something that you will recognize or that will stand out to you. So in a simple way to explain it, this office that I'm in right now recording this video, obviously I'm here sat at a desk with my computer on it. I walk past this desk every single day. I'm habituated to it. I'm habituated to the fact that this desk is here. So what that means is that when I walk in this room, I don't consciously make an effort to process the fact that the desk is here. It's just there, okay? And I don't really take time to acknowledge it. It doesn't really stand out in my mind. This is the exact same things that happens with adverts. If you do the exact same type of advertising as your competition, as people who are going for your client avatar, using the same words, promising the same things, offering the same things in the advert, then you are going to become habituated and your ad isn't going to stand out and your costs for your ad are going to absolutely skyrocket. As simple as that. Okay, so this is why competitor analysis is so important. Let me show you how to do this. So this is a document that I use with my clients to help with competitor analysis. So essentially what you need to do is list out 10 of your top competitors that are helping your client avatar in the same way. And what you need to find out essentially is what are they offering to the market? So who are they helping and how are they helping them? Do they have a unique mechanism? So what is their unique way of getting clients results? What are keywords they use across their page? So for example, keywords that I see coaches use, or not coaches, but people that are helping coaches using are words like 10K a month, scale, making crazy guarantees, things like this. And these are words that I would go against. What do they position themselves as? What do they call themselves? Do they call themselves some type of expert? Do they call themselves a certain type of coach? Do they call themselves a mentor? What are they using to call themselves or position themselves as? What can you do differently to them? So really take a look at what things are they doing in their advertising, in their content, in their marketing that you can position yourself as different or opposite to. What type of ads do they run, which is really important. I'll show you how to do this shortly. And what are they offering and talking about in those ads? So are they offering a lead magnet, a PDF, an ebook, a webinar? And then any other notes that you can get about a competitor. And you need to do this for 10 competitors. Now, again, this is a bit of work, but if you want a successful ad campaign and if you don't want to pour money down the drain, it's worth it. Now, what you then do at the end, an overall analysis, is you have a look at what are the keywords, phrases that all of the competitors are using that you need to avoid to make sure you sound different? What are the similarities that each one of the coaches that you're looking at is making that you can, again, do differently? What are the similarities in their adverts? Are they making all the same promises? Again, note these down so that you can be different. And then overall, just make a note of how to stand out, essentially. Now, let me show you actually how to do this. These are the points that you need to understand. And these are things that I do for myself in my business as well. And it's helped me to completely stand out, right? I'm in a field at the moment where advertising to coaches has become one of the most competitive and expensive fields because everyone's just decided to jump on the bandwagon. So what that's meant for me is I've had to get really good at making sure my ad campaigns are different. And this is the exact process that I went through as well, understanding these different elements. So essentially, let's now look at how to do this. So the first way, right, is you can go onto the ads library, type in ads library, Facebook ad library, select the region that you're in and the region that you're going to be advertising to. Select all ads unless you fit into any of these categories, which probably you don't. And essentially, for example, the first thing you can do is actually type in your competitor in this search bar. So that's the first thing. You can type in the competitor, find out who they are, simply click in here and type in their name and look at all of their adverts. And that's the first thing that you can do to start if you already know who your competitors are. Now, the second thing you can do is if you don't know exactly who your competitors are and you haven't already done this before, is you can just type in keywords. So for example, you can type in things like coaching clients as keywords, or like that's something that I could type in. And I could have a look at people that are advertising to coaches, right? So now all of a sudden I've got all of these adverts of people who are advertising to coaches, and I can just spend some time going through this and having a look at what I can do to be different. Okay, so here's some tricks as well that you can use within this to make sure that the people that you're looking at are actually running good ads, right? Because if we have a look here, these adverts of these people started running on the 30th of July. So they've only been running a day. I'm recording this on the 31st of July. So they've only been running a day. So that means we don't know if these ads are working or not. So they could turn these ads off in a day. So there's no point analysing these types of adverts. The type of ads you want to be analysing are ones that are old. So make sure that ads are active, filter them, and then you can choose the dates that they're running from. So for example, if you keep on the right hand side active ads and you pick ads that have been running since here, what that's going to mean is you're going to get active ads that have been running since May. So now, if for somebody to leave an advert on since May, it means the advert is good. Okay. So then essentially what you want to do is these are the ads you then look at. And again, like we're saying, what we're looking for is, okay, what are they promising? So here they're clicking a sign up. If we open this up, where is that taking us to? This is go high level. They are taking us to get a free trial. Again, this isn't a competitor, but this is the sort of things you'd be doing. This person here, we press learn more. What are they offering? They're offering a roadmap call. Okay, so this is what they're doing. So these are the types of things you want to gauge. What are they offering and what are the words that they're using? So for example, what you will see with like my competition, guys who are also advertising to coaches, is that they will say things like keywords like scale. They'll make guarantees of how many clients. They will offer 10k, 20k, 30k a month. That's what they would say in their adverts. So these are things, I'm looking for these similarities so I can avoid them. So this is the first way you can do it. Now the second way you can do it is just through Instagram. So if you don't know who your competitor is and you can't for whatever reason find anyone through here, what you can do on Instagram is just type in the types of people that you're competing against and see who comes up. So let's say that you are a health coach, right? You can just type in health coach and you can see who comes up, right? So there's obviously some people I know here, but if I just type in, then you can get more specific, health coach for women. So these are all of these ladies here are going to be health coaches for women. You can go on, have a look at their account and see who is a competitor. Again, you can get even more specific. You can say like business coach. You can see all the people that come up here. Business coaches, business coach for coaches. You can see some more people that come up here. And these are then people that you can start to look at, analyze, and make sure that you're differentiating yourself from. So this is how to start doing the competitor analysis, essentially. And this is the second element of creating a successful advertising campaign. And again, like I say, what you're looking for is you're just looking for all these elements. What are they all offering to the market? What are they all promising? What words are they using? How are they running their ads? To make sure that you can be completely different, essentially. That is the purpose of this exercise, going back to that habituation point. Now, the third element to look at is actually looking at content, okay? So what you'll start to see now in the markets is that advertising alone simply isn't enough. you need to create an ecosystem and an environment where people can build that trust with you, because unfortunately anybody can just come on Instagram, come on Facebook, turn on a advert and start promising people things and trying to get them to jump on calls, become a lead, etc., etc. So what you now need to do for yourself is, at a low level, it doesn't need to be anything complex, I'm going to show you how to do this shortly, is how to actually build out content that builds that trust, positions you as an expert, so that people have no doubt in you and what you're doing. Because again, here's the thing, right? Like I say, anybody can come on and run an ad. But what people are starting to do now, and what we're seeing, is that when people are advertising, people will then go on your page and see who you are. So if your page isn't built out and optimized, and if it isn't positioned in a way where you're seen as the expert for the client avatar that you're advertising to, very likely your ad costs are going to be more expensive. Whereas compared to if you set up a page in the way that I have, where you position yourself as the go-to expert for the client avatar that you serve, now when people come onto your page from your advert, they're going to see you as the expert even more. They're going to see your story, your results, all of your testimonials, all of your expertise. And then what that means then is that when people come onto your page and when people look at you, feel like your advert has more trust behind it, has more meaning behind it, has more expertise behind it, and they're more likely to convert. So what we're doing here is we're building out the foundation of an advertising campaign. The actual advertising strategy that I'm about to show you in a moment does actually require this content, so it's going to tie in nicely. So let's now go back to the board and explain how to do this, okay? So if we scroll down, very simply, what you want to do to optimize a page when you're running adverts is extremely simple. Number one, share your story, okay? A lot of coaches are coaching from a place of experience, so you are going to be somebody who the client avatar can relate to. Now, what you want to do in your story is link it to the client avatar, so show where you were before, and that will probably link to the client avatar's current pain points. Show your transformation, again, that will link to the transformation that your client avatar wants, and now share your after state, which again is where the client avatar probably wants to get to. That's the first way to do it. Second of all, results. So show testimonials, case studies, anything you can to again show people that you've worked with this type of client avatar. Again, builds trust, positions you as an expert. Thirdly, a good way to do it is to show your unique mechanism. So what makes you different? What is different from you from every other coach? And again, this is where the competitor analysis can come in nicely, because you can start to position yourself in a way where you sound and look completely different to everybody else who's advertising to this avatar. Okay. Now, the fourth thing you want to do is create content that positions you as an expert using the problem micro problem formula. So allow me to explain what this means. So think of it this way, right? Your client avatar has a big overarching problem in the middle, and what makes up that problem are loads of little micro problems. So for example, the overarching problem that I help coaches with is getting clients. What makes up that problem is that they don't know how to define a niche, they don't know how to run ads, they don't know how to create content, they don't know how to generate leads, they don't know how to market themselves, they don't know how to book calls, etc., etc., etc. Right? So what I do and what I recommend you do to start building this out is to start creating content on these micro problems. And what you would need to do is give tangible, valuable advice on these issues, right? So share tips, tricks, insights, advice, guidance, ways of thinking around these topics. So now, right, when people come on your page, they can see your story and they can resonate with you. They see your results, so they know that, one, you've walked the path that they want to walk. Two, you've also helped people like them, so it builds that trust. Three, that you're different from other things that they've heard and seen before, so you don't get stuck in that cycle of habituation and you stand out. And four, that you are an expert on their issue because all of your content speaks to their problems and solves them. So now when you do that, what starts to happen is that when people come on your page from your adverts, they see you as the go-to expert, and it makes them 10 times more likely to convert. Because why wouldn't they, right? If they've got a strong pain point that they want solving, and there's somebody here that's a pure expert on this topic that's solving all of their issues already just through content, they are 110% likely going to convert. Now, the way that I see content, just to give you a bit of extra context here, is I see it as a shop front, okay? So let's just try and draw a dodgy shop. So imagine this is the shop, this is the sign, this is the shop window, there's some products here, and this is the door, for example. Ignore the dodgy drawing. But think of it this way, right? An in-person brick and mortar business has this that I've just drawn here. They have a physical business with a physical sign, a physical display window with products in. And what that does is it hooks people in to the store. It makes them curious. It provides them value by showing them what they can get from coming in, and it builds that trust and eventually convinces people to walk through the door. Okay, we obviously don't have this, but we have a social media page and we can recreate this in the same way. So your content is like the products in the window. So your micro problems are like your products in the window. They're hooking people in, they're building trust, and they're getting people to take that step and to come through the door. Okay, your sign of your page is essentially like your bio, essentially, pretty much. It's like your bio, your profile picture, what you call yourself, all of these things. So by seeing content in this way, it just helps you to position yourself in the right way and to position yourself as an expert. Because again, if you were a physical in-person business, you wouldn't want a messy shop window with random products in that make no sense, or a sign that doesn't make it clear who you are or what you're about. You'd want targeted things in the window, targeted sign that makes sense and that speaks to your client avatar. And this is exactly what we want to do with our content. Okay, so this is the third key element of what you need. Now, the fourth element that we're going to look at are ad must-haves. So what this means are elements that you need to include in your advertising that are going to ensure that the ad performs to the best. Advertising is a skill. There are things you do and there are things you don't do. So let me show you some things to make sure that you do on your ads. So here's the first one, clarity. So what does this mean? It has to be extremely clear who your advert is for. Within the first 2 seconds, people should watch your ad and know exactly who the advert is for to hook them in. If you can't hook somebody within the first 2 seconds of the ad running, when they watch it, you're going to lose them. So the best way to do that is to call them out. If you're X person with Y problem, looking for Z transformation, this is for you. You're going to hook them instantly and it's going to grab their attention. So the first way to make an ad succeed is clarity. It needs to be 110% clear exactly who it's for to hook people in. The second element is simplicity. Okay, so what this means is that it needs to be simple to consume. People shouldn't have to sit there and try to process what your advert is about, or what the messaging is about, or what they're going to be getting from the ad. Everything in your ad needs to be simple, easy to digest, easy to understand, and just easy overall. Okay, again, think about it. There is so much competition advertising to your client avatar. Your client avatar is going to see another advert within the next 3 scrolls. So if you can't make it easy for them to digest your advert, if the grammar is complex, if your sentences are complex, if the words you're using are complex, people will just scroll away. They don't have time for it. There is somebody else who will advertise them in a cleaner, simpler way. So make your messaging or your wording extremely simple. Again, it takes a split second and one little mistake for somebody to scroll off. So these are the first 2 ways to make sure your ads succeed. Clear and simple who it's for within the first 2 seconds, and very simple throughout in terms of what it is that you're saying has to be easy to digest and understand, and everything else in the advert just needs to be simple. Don't give people a reason to start thinking. You don't want people to go through your adverts, start processing, using brain power to depict what you mean. Make it so easy for them to understand that it's impossible that they don't take action. Because if you don't, they will scroll away, they will see another advert, and your competitor will get that lead. Right? Now the last element of an ad must-have, very simply, is a clear outcome. God, apologise for the writing, but a clear outcome, okay? So what this means is that it needs to be clear and understanding why should they click on your advert. Again, there are so many bloody adverts out there, and I'm going to keep saying this because it's an important concept to understand. There are so many ads out there. Why should anybody click on your advert? It needs to be 110% clear what they're going to get from clicking on your ad. What is the outcome for them? What is the benefit for them from clicking at the ads? What are the outcomes that they're going to take? An important concept for you to know about advertising is you're only ever selling the next step. You're selling the click. That is the whole job of an advert. You are convincing people to click on your ad. So the best way to do that is to be clear on who it's for, is to make it simple to understand and to digest. And thirdly, is to make it 110% clear on the outcome that you are offering to them from clicking on the ad. What is the promise? To some extent, you're always making a promise. It doesn't need to be a crazy guarantee, but it just needs to be that you're providing some value if they click on the ad on the other side. It's as simple as that. Okay. The purpose of advertising is to provide people the opportunity to gain value. Okay, and in exchange, they give you their contact details or they become a lead. Simple as that, right? So make it clear on the outcome that you're giving them. Now, lastly, the last element to understand about this is don't make it feel like an ad. Here's what I mean by that. Some people advertise and it feels like an ad. It feels like you're being advertised to. It feels very commercial, very gimmicky. Don't do that. Make it feel like a piece of content. Those are the ads that perform the best. So if you have a look, an ad that would perform well visually is an ad like this, because this is a piece of content that's just on my page, okay? Now, if you had an ad where you spoke in a similar way, it's going to come across that it's not an ad, very simply, and people are going to be more likely to listen to it. When it feels like an advert, it gets interpreted as an advert. And again, we've been trained from a young age to skip past and ignore adverts. Think of all the shows that we've watched on TV. The ads come on, we get up, we go get a drink, we skip through it, we put it on mute, whatever we do. Don't make it feel like an ad. Just make it feel like a piece of content. And that leads me to step 5, the 5th element of successful ads, which is actually the type of ads that we should be running. Now, there's really 2 types of ways to run ads, okay? So first of all is the standard way of running ads. And let's call this just option 1 of running ads. Okay? And that's the standard. You do PDFs, you do ebooks, you do lead magnets, you do all of these things. These are the standard way of running ads, webinars, etc., etc. Now, the issue with this type of way of running adverts and the way that everybody tells you to do it is that they require you to use a funnel. So you're funneling people through when you run these types of ads, right? You're running people through and a percent of them will slip out the bottom. Yes, a percent of them will convert, but a percent of them will slip out the bottom. Now, typically what you see is when you use these types of ads is that people typically disappear. You don't hear from them again. You spend time chasing them up. You generate a list of leads and a list of people who nothing ever comes from them, okay? Now, the reason that coaches struggle so much with these types of ads is very simple. It's because they require you to wear the hats of a salesman and a marketer. And obviously, coaches aren't those things. Coaches are coaches. Now, the issue is with these is because there's no real trust built for a PDF or an ebook or a lead magnet or webinar. There's no trust built. People don't know who you are. People don't know your story. People don't know what you're about. To top that, you're then funneling them through this process. So you're going to lose a massive percent of them anyway, never hear from them again. But then what that means is the people who are left, who you can possibly contact, you have to become very, very good at conversion to make it work. And again, that takes you away from what you want to be doing, which is coaching. So the type of ads you want to run are something I've developed called evolved ads. And they don't use funnels or the typical approach. So essentially the difference is, right, is instead of funneling people through, we are driving them into a beaker like this and creating an ecosystem. Because what happens with these types of adverts is you generate names, emails, phone numbers. People go through your funnel, but people never see who you are. You never build any trust with them. They're just giving a random person their details and they have no idea who you are, what you're about. So they have no reason to respond to you. The difference with a beaker is instead of giving somebody something for free, which they read once and just chuck away and they never can see you again, is we're running ads to get people to follow us. And this is where the beaker approach comes in, because what then happens is you're building an ecosystem and an environment. So as I mentioned earlier on about this very specific content, which was or wasn't done intentionally, the purpose of these ads is to drive people into our beaker, into our ecosystem, to get them to follow. And what we're doing is the outcome that we're selling in our advert, as we mentioned, the must-have of ads, the outcome that we're selling is saying to people, look, if you're this person with this problem, wanting this transformation, so clarity in the first 2 seconds, we then simply list their pain points. Then what we're saying is, give me a follow and go through my content. I'm going to show you exactly how to overcome X problem and achieve Y goal. That's the outcome that we're selling in these ads. And then what we're doing is, instead of getting people who have never met us before to give us their emails and phone numbers and then just for them to disappear because they don't know who we are or build any trust, we're getting them to come to our page, right? And our page is then set up like a shop front. The sign with the bio, hooking them in. You've got 3 pin posts here with your story, results, your unique mechanism, like I told you to do above, which builds trust. And then the rest of your content is expert content, all and here, building that trust and that authority, which is solving their problems and positioning you as an expert. So then what starts to happen is that the people who come through from this ad staying in your Instagram, on your page. This is all Instagram specific. They're staying on this page. Any new piece of content you post is nurturing them. They know exactly who you are, your story, your results, why they should listen to you. It's a soft opt-in. So instead of giving a random other email and phone number, all they've got to do is follow. And now you're building an ecosystem where every piece of content, every result you post, anything that you post on your page is nurturing these leads that you've driven into your beaker, because they can't escape like a lead magnet. There's no reason for them to leave, because you're positioning yourself in a way where you're only giving them value and you're building up that trust. So these are the types of ads that you want to be running. Now, the beauty of these as well for coaches specifically is they get so much volume. So what you'll see with these types of ads with the lead magnets is your cost per lead, for example, will be usually anywhere from like £5 upwards. That's what you'll see for good quality leads anyway. With these types of campaigns, what I see with all the coaches that I'm helping that are running this, their cost per lead on average is about 50p. So what this means, the main difference between this and this is obviously the price, but the way that I look at it is that you can get 10 times more people for the same price point, which means that you can make 10 times more mistakes. You've got more volume, you've got more room for error, which takes the pressure away, removes you from that scarcity mindset and allows you to convert more people. As simple as that. So this is the type of ads to run. Ditch these typical lead magnet ads with funnels and take the evolved ad strategy with the beaker approach, where you're getting people to follow for low conversion. And that is the fifth element, the type of ads to run. Now, the sixth element for you to know is how to actually launch adverts, okay? Because there are so many different ways that you could launch an ad campaign. It's as simple as that. It's just so many. You could do it on the ads manager. You could boost a post on the ads manager. You could do different setups, different targeting, things like that. So what I've done is just created a very simple way to launch ads, essentially, for any type of coach. Now, here's what we're going to do. When you create your evolved advert and you run it to get people to follow this page, right? What you're going to do is you're going to post the ad as a reel. And again, remember what I said earlier. You don't want the ad to feel like an ad. So what you're going to do is you're going to post the ad on the page. So you're going to film the advert, set it up, and you're going to post it on your actual page, on your grid, okay? Now, once you've done that, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to boost that post. Again, I've tested Ads Manager versus boosted posts. There is literally no difference in results at all. All it does is it makes it easier for you to run. So imagine this is your ad here. What you would do is click on it. You would press boost reel, set that load a second. Here are the settings you need to know. Visit your profile, create your own audience, okay? So again, the way to do this is simple. So what you would do is turn Advantage Plus off. Always do that, even if you're launching through the Ads Manager, because Advantage Plus, what it does is it sends it to people who are even outside of the audience that you set here, because what it's saying is it will find and update audiences when it's likely to improve performance. Now, what we're doing with these types of ads is we're optimizing for high quality leads and high quality followers. What Facebook is doing is the goal of this ad, as you can see up here, is to get people to visit your Instagram profile. So the way that they see an improvement in performance is by getting more people to click on the page. But what it means is they could send people to the page that aren't your ideal leads. So always turn this off, give it a name, very simply location. Where do you work with clients? Where are your clients? UK, for example, save that. Interests, very simply pick 3 to 5 around your niche. So I'm helping coaches. So first one, business, coach, see what comes up, coaching, education, coaches, we'll see what comes up again. Coaching, what comes up? Could put in life coach, for example. I could put advertising. Anything that my client avatar is going to be interested in. Clients, no. Marketing. There we go. Anything like that. Just keep it simple. Save it. Right? Age. Let's say your target clients are usually 30 to 50. Leave a bit of a gap. So leave it a little bit wider. So 27 to 53 I would do. Then select the gender and press save. The main key thing is that this is in grey, right? Once you've saved that, select that audience. And then all you need to do apart from that is add your payment method and set your daily budget. Now, when you're setting up the ad, make sure you do run until paused. Okay, the reason being is that when you've got a winning advert, you never want it to turn off or to shut down, because you will lose all the data and all the algorithm learning. So if you do set duration and you set it for 15 days and it's winning and you're signing clients from it, and then it automatically turns off, all that data that you've developed will disappear essentially. So do run until I pause it. And an ad budget, it doesn't really matter. It's completely up to you. My recommendation is do something that isn't going to stop you from putting food on the table essentially. So just do that and eventually build it up. My usual recommendation to start with as a minimum is about £15 a day. However, if you want less, you can do less. I have clients now who are running £7 a day and are signing multiple high ticket clients in a month. So whatever works best for you, like I say, there's not really a right or wrong. And that's essentially how to launch the ad. Really just as simple as that. And again, the focus with all of this stuff is simplicity. Now, the last and the seventh element of making a successful ad campaign is tracking. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people will just run adverts without tracking the data, without tracking the numbers, and not really understand what's going on. And that's a complete rookie error, because advertising essentially is just a numbers game. All it is, okay, I'm putting X amount in, I'm getting X amount out. Okay, I want X amount out now. How much do I need to put in to make that happen? And the way you do that is by tracking. The biggest mistake that I see people making when they run ads is that they don't track. They run adverts, they're not looking at the data, they're not understanding the metrics. And what that means is they run ads based on emotion. So essentially what you'll find is that people go, oh, I don't think my ads are working. They've slowed down a little bit today, but they don't have a whole holistic picture of how the adverts are going and what the results are actually like. So it's really, really important that you track. So here's an example of a tracker that I use with all the coaches that I currently help. So this type of tracker, very simply, for the type of ads that I've just shown you, is pretty simple, but it's very important. So essentially you want to track every day your ad spend, how many new views you got and how many new followers you got. Okay, and we're tracking here our cost per follower to see what that is. Now your target cost per follower for this type of ad, if you're a coach, should be around £1 a maximum. £1 to £2 is a high end. On the low end, you're looking at pennies. Like I say, on average, most of the clients I work with, it's about 50p. Right, you then want to track how many responses you're getting each day, how many people you've pitched to, how many calls you booked, your call booking percent, how much a booked call is costing you, your show rate, and how many sales you've made. Okay, now the reason you want to track these, so I'll do a little scroll through so you can take note of these, of what you need to be tracking. But these are the metrics you need to be tracking to see a successful ad campaign. And at the end of the day, right, what we're looking for from these types of adverts is, okay, around 25 to 50% that click on your profile should be following. Your follower rate should be around £1 on the high end. Okay, £1 to £2 is okay. Cost per conversation doesn't really matter too much how much that costs. The main metric then we're looking at is your cost per booked call. So the way to have a target cost per booked call is, let's say you're selling something for £3,000, right? On the low end, you want to make at least £1,000 profit per each sale. So what that means is, if your cost per booked call was £200 and you booked 10 calls and you had a rubbish close rate where you closed only 10% of people, that means that essentially that if you spent £200 per booked call, you would still be profitable from your ads, and that would be okay. But again, target cost per booked call and how much you really want to be spending on the call is, like I say, just let's say have your price point, cut it in half, divide that by 10. So for example, let's say again your price point is 3k, cut it in half, 1.5k, divide that by 10 is £150. So what that means is, if you close 1 in 10, if you've got really bad at sales, every £150 you spend, you're booking a call, and that means you have a profitable ad campaign. It's as simple as that. But the most important metric you're looking for is your cost per acquisition. So that means, after how much you spend on ads, do you acquire a customer? Now, the reason this metric is so important is because what it does for us is it allows us to exactly see how much we need to spend to acquire a customer. It's as simple as that. And this is where ads then becomes maths. Okay, because let's say your cost per acquisition is £500. So every £500 you spend, you're getting a customer for 2k, let's say. So you've got a 4x return. Brilliant. Okay, so you know you need to spend £500 on ads to make £2,000, which is an amazing return. So then it's like, okay, how many customers do you want in a month? Okay, I want 10 customers in a month. Fine. You want 10 customers in a month. You know your cost per acquisition is £500. So very simply, all you do is you do 10 times 500, which is 5,000. Right? So you know if you spend £5,000 on ads in the month, you will then get back £20,000. So you make £15,000 profit in the month. That's essentially how ads work. It's as simple as that. This is why it's important to track it. Because I'll have clients now that I'm working with where they go, oh, I feel like the ads are a bit slow today. I'm not sure if we need to turn it off. And I'm like, right, just look at the tracker. Okay, we've had one day where we've had 5 less followers than usual, but overall our cost per follower is still averaging out to about 50p, so we're fine. And this is why it's so important to track, and this is how you actually build a proper systemized business based on advertising rather than just guessing whether your ad campaigns are working, essentially. So this is so important. So this is what I'm going to recommend that you do, is start to track your advertising campaigns and start looking at it in this way to really help you out. And look, at the end of the day, I'm going to be completely transparent with you. If you are running adverts and you're not tracking, just turn them off. Genuinely just turn them off, because if you're not properly tracking, you're in the dark and you don't know where your money's being spent. And you don't know if what you're putting your money into is working. So it's really vital that you track. But that is exactly how I turn £1 into £5 with a 5x return on ads consistently in a ridiculously simple way. Now, if you want to see an in-depth video around all of my marketing learnings over the last 3 years, simply press the video that's going to appear on screen now.